Alright guys, so I was thinking back on the year and I was like, man, 2017 was a great year. And I was like, no, 2017 was probably the best year of my life. And then I thought about it some more, and I really owe it all to you guys. I mean, without not only your support as far as, watching the videos and that little bit of ad revenue that helps me, pay to go drifting and buy parts for my cars, but the motivation you guys give me when you guys are like, hey, when's the Miata going to be done? I'm like, oh man, when is the Miata going to be done? Oh, I could work on it today. There's a lot to what you guys do that really helps me and really is what made this year such a great year for me. So we're going to start back at the beginning. In the very beginning of the year, I had this plan. So I had a SC300 with a stock NA2J. I had a 1J to put in it. This is not this year, it's a couple of years ago. But the car had a stock NA2J, welded diff, coilover, seat, steering wheel. And I drove it at the compound, beat the crap out of it for like 10 laps at a time. I drove it at OSW, and I never had to pop the hood on the thing. I don't think I ever even checked the oil in it. Never had to do anything. And me and somebody were talking about it, me and somebody else were talking about it, and their whole thing was like, well, yeah, it's because it's stock. And I don't know if it just hit me then, and I realized, wow, if you keep something stock, I mean, they're meant to go a couple 100,000 miles, they can take a lot more abuse than when you start stringing them out. So my whole idea was, okay, I want to buy a car that's stock, makes enough power to drift, because I always hate the whole, like, there's not enough power to drift, it doesn't have enough power, because most of the time it does when people say that. But that car made probably like 150, 180 wheel horsepower and weighed like 3,500, 4,000 pounds, something like that. So power to weight was not there, but it still ripped like pretty well, honestly, for what it was. So I wanted to take that mentality, and me and Adam were going to get a 350Z, and then what happened was, when I was looking for 350Zs, I stumbled upon a GTO for like $6,000, and I realized, oh man, GTO would be perfect. It comes stock with an LS1 T56, literally do chassis modifications, suspension, angle, seat, steering wheel, whiten it up, all that stuff, all the stuff that doesn't really impact reliability, and just drive the crap out of it and get seat time, like project seat time really was the plan. And that was the plan of the GTO. So then when I went to go buy a GTO and I was like, all right, I'm ready, I'm doing this, there were none under 10 grand. So Feb was like, hey man, why don't you go for a C5? And it was such an outlandish idea at first. A C5 Corvette is a drift car. I'm like, no, they're all fiberglass and they're expensive. And he had been looking for his friend, and he's like, man, they're under 10 grand. You can easily find one for under 10 grand. So I started looking, and they were still kind of pricey, and that was too much for me, because once you mod it and all that, it would have been an expensive car. Well, I found mine for 7 grand. Me and Marco went and picked it up in January, sometime early January. I'm not sure the exact date. And thus started the Corvette drift build. Throughout the year, we did a lot of modifications to it. We did coilovers, seat, steering wheel, angle mods, wheels, sound system. And throughout that time, the car just got driven and driven and driven. Driven and driven. I drove that car so much, and I got to go to the one track that I've always wanted to go to, Road Atlanta, and I got to drive my Corvette at Road Atlanta in 2017. Amazing, amazing. Now that kind of brings me to the traveling aspect of 2017. I traveled more in 2017 than I ever have in my life, and that was thanks to BC and thanks to you guys, for two different reasons. BC, because I worked there, I got to travel to these events, I got to go to both Grid Wise again, I got to go to almost every single FD round. Visit all these different places all over the country and meet a ton of you from every different corner of the country. And that was such an amazing experience. When you see numbers as far as subscriber count and comments and things like that, it's hard to put that into perspective until you go to an event and you shake hands with 100 people, and get to meet those people face to face, hear their stories. And that really, man, it motivated me so much to just keep pushing, keep trying as hard as I can on this YouTube stuff, and just continue enjoying it to the fullest, and enjoying sharing content with you guys. And it kind of helped me open up a better dialogue with you through the videos, because I feel like I know so many of you, if that makes sense. So that was really awesome. And of course, you guys know I'm going with the traveling thing. Japan. Japan was it's one of those life goals that it was like, yeah, I'd love to go to Japan, but is it ever going to happen? You know, like, am I really ever going to go to Japan? Probably not, you know, but it'd be cool. Wouldn't it be sick if we went to Japan? And Adam told me he was going in May, and I was like, no, there's no way. I mean, you know, I kind of have the money, but I need that money for the vet build and all this other stuff here, and there's just no way. You know, I'll go in fall, but I can't go in May. And Adam's like, dude, I cannot go without you. This is your dream trip. I know this is your dream trip. You're going with me, whether you like it or not. And we went, you know, we went to Japan. We bought plane tickets. I took off work. We went to Japan. And I can't explain that feeling of standing there at the Power Vehicles lot, looking at all the cars all around us, all the beat up drift cars, all the crazy wide body just drift cars. I mean, they're all drift cars. They're all at Ebisu. Watching like missile cars come down the hill and go to Toge, hearing them rip around Toge, because it's like you miss it and somehow launch this, that's where you're going. You're gonna die. It's scary even standing up here.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right up the hill. That moment, I wish I could like bottle that moment and save it forever, because that was, oh man, that's what allowed me to empty out my savings account. All right, so the plan was to come here and drive Adam's car and get a feel for it, maybe come back and buy a car. And Aaron's like, you're gonna buy a car.
Nope.
And now I'm here, nope. And damn it.
Take all your money and dump it in a fire. It's over.
All my money is gone.
You're at Ebisu.
Every bit of money that I've saved up over the last like while is gone, because this is amazing. This is like drift heaven in a nutshell.
That's why it's called Drift Heaven. It's a name.
I might buy a car. I might buy a car. I don't know.
No, he's gonna buy a car.
That feeling of we're in drift heaven. I'm in this place that I've always wanted to be, and it's everything I ever hoped for and more. And that entire trip was just such a fun time. I mean, we got to experience the culture of Japan, because you're in the mountainside. I mean, Ebisu is 3 hours north of Tokyo in the Japanese mountains. And yeah, look at this view though. We got to drive some of the craziest and scariest drift tracks in the world. You know, drifting Toge was like, something out of a movie or a video game, you know, it's tiny, windy, what feels like just some back road through the Japanese mountains, drifting up it, and my JZX90, that was just so cool. And especially, I think the giddiest moment of that whole trip to me, oddly enough, was the street drifting in the mountains.
Yeah!
Yes! We went and we saw the street drifting in the mountains, and I've never, ever knew that it was like that. I mean, I had seen Toge runs from some people on Instagram, and I'd seen stuff like that, but to see car after car after car after car. And run. Just 50-car trains going up the side of a mountain. first looked down, we were kind of like on the top, and the mountain, like the road they were drifting on, was down from us, and then went down further than that. And just seeing the headlights and taillights going up that, I mean, I felt like a schoolgirl, you know, like I was so giddy. And I remember Aaron, you know, Aaron, it takes a lot to get Aaron excited. He's been to Japan a ton of times. He's done all this stuff. He's traveled to Australia to go drifting and all over the place, you know, and he's been doing this for a long time. And to see him that excited, you can hear him. This is the coolest thing in the world.
You can't hear Aaron's excitement. I'm so excited.
This is the first time Aaron's been excited this trip. Was a really, really cool experience. And it's funny because what I miss most about it is all the nuances, like going, getting to the track. All right, so we normally start the videos at the track, but this is where the day starts here at the lodge. We eat some toast with jam/peanut butter. I'm getting ready, having some warm-up laps up on North Course, maybe finish your tires off on tailgate so you can mount tires for the rest of the day. And then around noon, going and getting lunch and trying to decide between katsu and what was the other one? Is it katsu? Katsu was the meat and lettuce. It's between the different dishes there, and sitting there and eating lunch with your friend. And
is there soy sauce on that?
Got some ramen. Everyone's eating.
Right? I think you
Need protein for high speed tandems. At a zoo while your drift car is parked outside.
close enough though.
They're all very similar, so basically all white JZXs. And then look at all these drift cars just parked here to get lunch. Squad. And you have free reign of 5 tracks, and Matsuri 7 tracks, and then Matsuri itself, you know, midnight wall tapping the wall that I've seen so many videos of people wall tapping, and I've always thought it was the gnarliest thing, and how cool it was that they did that, and to be able to do that myself. Was just like, oh man, that was just such a, it was like an achievement unlocked, like a very satisfying, like I did this, you know, and I came here, I did this, like it was just so cool. And that whole trip was such an eye-opener for me and my outlook on drifting, which has kind of been, I don't know what started it, but trending that way, you know, keep your car simple, get as much seat time as possible, and I'm going to try to push that more than ever this year. And just kind of have maybe video series or something explaining, you know, how to lightly modify your car, or what not to do, what to do, to try to keep your car running and driving and affordable to operate. Because I see so many people fall into the trap of building a pro level car and then they just can't afford to drive it. And it sucks because I see their passion and they want to drive, but they're stuck with this car that's just too expensive to drive. So they drive, you know, 3 events a year or something like that, and then they eventually get out of it because it's too expensive, whereas they never had to go that far. So it was really cool that Japan just like solidified that in my head and really implanted some ideas for the future and my goals for next year, which we'll get to here in a minute. But the Japan trip as a whole, and I know from hearing from you guys in person and in comments, was definitely the highlight of the year for me. I mean, it was just... something I never thought I would get to do, and I really appreciate all of your support, especially, you know, during the trip, watching the videos. You know, that really is what made it feasible for me. And thank you guys for watching them, because watching them supports me being here in this trip. Otherwise, I would never be able to do this. You know, if those videos had tanked and done terrible views, it would have been a lot harder. So I won't go too much more into Japan. I know we've talked about it multiple times. We've gone over it and all that, but I just can't believe I got to do that trip, and I'm really stoked about it, and I really appreciate you guys' support and giving me the ability to do that trip, because without you, it definitely would not have been possible. Without Adam, you know, I never would have got that push and that nudge to do it. So huge shout out to Adam as well, and Aaron, because Aaron's the one who convinced Adam and me, and then Adam convinced me. So that was definitely the highlight of the year for me. So another trip I want to talk about real quick that really made a big impact on kind of like my whole goals and outlook was the Texas trip. So before the Texas trip, I had no goals of getting a truck and trailer. I thought it was silly because a lot of the people that I know and have seen, you know, they get a truck and trailer to drive like 20 minutes down the road to OSW, and they don't really ever go anywhere else. So in my mind, it was just like, why not just get AAA, drive my car there, and in the event that it does break, I just get it towed 20 minutes home, you know? I mean, there's no point in having this full rig to go 20 minutes down the road. So in comes Texas. Texas was the car guy dream week vacation kind of thing. I mean, it was when Aaron told us what the plans were, I mean, we were just like, this can't be true. This is so good. This is like too good to be true. BC sponsored the trip and helped get us out there. We went out, we drove a Lone Star event for the first 2 days.
Look at this.
We headed from there to Rally Ready in Texas, and well, I guess this is all in Texas, to Rally Ready, and we learned how to drive rally cars. So we used a Civic, learned how to, all the basics of rally driving, like the first day stuff.
Turn brake. Turn brake. There you go. A little more steering input. Okay, off the gas, good. So you're real tight on the wheel right now. You're gonna want to loosen up your wheel so you can steer more, okay?
Gotcha.
Need a full rotation in both directions. Stay the right of the scrum, full throttle, full throttle. Good, turn the brake. Off the brake, turn the brake. There you go. Okay, chill.
Obviously, we didn't become pro rally drivers by the end of it, but we got the basics down and had fun sliding cars around on dirt and riding in side-by-sides. Then after that, we went to my favorite part of the trip, which was Harris Hill, which is a country club road course. So basically, you pay a membership fee, you get to drive there. Well, Harrison, who drives in Lone Star, awesome kid, kid's so cool. He works there, so he's able to get us in. We got to drift on the road course. I got to drive Michael Van Schellenbeck's wild E36. I got to drive Aaron's Mustang. And I got to drive Julian's S14, sorry, with a SR, like 380 wheel SR car. Really cool, like setup car that was fun because I was kind of used to it. And we also, Harrison tossed us the keys to a NA Miata, in which me and Adam got to just beat the living crap out of. And it was great because the car was on bald tires, blown suspension, and that was my first proper track day. I'd done a good bit of karting, but I'd never done a track day. And it was crazy to, you know, the first few laps be scared to push the car to its limits and not be able to push a car to its limit that should get to its limits pretty easily. You know, bald tires, blown shocks Miata. It took me a while to feel like I was pushing it to its limits, then I overdrove it.
Fourth gear, a little bit of brake down to third, straighten out, straight line brake into this one, turn in, make sure I grab that apex, and then take it all the way out here. I was a little faster, I think.
You know, and just it went slow because I was pushing it too hard, but it really opened my eyes to road racing and just like how intense it can be. So that overall, that whole day, it was just a blast. That was just, okay, cool, I'm gonna hop in the Miata and take some laps. Go do some laps in the Miata. Get back, all right, cool, yeah, I can drive your car? Okay, sick. Hop in Michael's car and drive a 650 horsepower BMW on a road course and drift it. And Oh man, I'd never drifted a road course before that, and I never drifted like with that any real elevation change. So it was too new for me, and probably the most badass drift car I've ever drifted. So just that whole trip in general was really cool, and what that taught me. I mean, and this is kind of all, you got to take every experience, good or bad, and make something of it. What did it teach you? What did you learn from it? And what I learned from that trip was that I want to travel, and I want to not just travel because I got to do that this year, or I'm sorry, last year. But what I really want to do is get a truck and trailer. I want to travel around the country, and I want to go to all these different drift events. You know, I want to see what the scene is like in Texas, see what the scene is like in Washington. I want to drive US Air. I want to go to this event, to that event. And that was when I really made that connection, like, oh, this is why people get trucks and trailers, and this is why I should get a truck and trailer, so that I can actually experience drifting outside of Florida. If you just stay in your little comfort zone, you know, it's a lot harder to progress and learn, and you can easily fall into a mentality of this is the way things are. And when you travel and you experience how different people do different things, it makes you a bit more understanding and a bit more open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. So that is really was a big push for me to work hard, save up for a truck, save up for a trailer, and get my own tow rig set up. So after Japan, things were a little rough. I did spend a lot of money in Japan, a lot of money that I was saving for other things. I had to let go of some projects. But I think it all kind of worked out in the end, and I really like where we're focused at now. So I think it was a good thing. At the end of the day, I like where we're going. I like where things are headed. I like where things are now. So you've got to remember that if you ever feel like it was a bad decision, think about where you ended up from it, and, you know, is it really a bad decision then? Not that Japan was a bad decision. At the end of the day, all you have is your memories, and to me, I value memories and experiences more than anything else, because I don't build my car to have it. I build my car to use it and make memories with it. You know, I don't like doing it, but memories are very important, and I will never forget the Japan trip. It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life. I pretty much killed all my savings, but I'm okay with it because it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I want to keep coming back because this is heaven. I haven't been this happy in my entire life. This is the most fun I've ever had, and I don't regret it at all, is what I'm saying. So we went into Road Atlanta. Road Atlanta was wild as usual.
Go left! Go left! Over there! Over there! Over there! Go left!
Always a blast. Some crazy stuff happened. And it was good to be reunited with my friends after not seeing them for a while, because I was in Japan and spent 8 hours in a car ride telling them all about Japan. So one of the more memorable drifting things that happened last year was when me, Alan, Matt, Steven, and a bunch of other people went to the compound. And I had my Miata, and I finally said, screw it, I'm going to drive this thing. And man, we pushed hard. Woohoo! And that was the first time, besides Japan, where I had taken my skills that I learned on the sim and all the practice from the sim and been able to just apply it to real life, and just apply it to real life, because I couldn't tandem because I didn't have a cage. So to be able to go out there and tandem and be on door and push it and have a blast, like that day really like put me up here as to like, oh man, yes, need to get a cage, need to get the car dialed, need to do something because I want to keep doing this, which I already knew, but it just gave me that extra kick in the butt that I needed to be motivated. So that brings me to the sim. The sim was something I got like a year and a half ago, but this year I put together a really nice sim setup. Before, I had a pretty janky thrown together sim setup.
Platform. It'll be sick.
We're making
we can even make a cup holder. I'm making a cup holder.
Yes, absolutely.
Or yeah, it'll be amazing.
And it was because I didn't know if I was gonna like it. I didn't know if I was gonna even use it. I figured, it might end up sitting in the corner of my room and I'd use it once every 5 months. But once I started using it and used it all the time and learned a lot from it, was able to take that practice and apply it to things like the compound, I realized that it was worth investing into a better sim setup. the sim was such a valuable investment in my mind, and I'm so glad that I was able to get that and was able to spend the time on it and still have it and I'm still able to spend the time on it because it really has done a lot for my driving. Another fun build we did was Fed's Ram Charger. That was a really cool one. It was kind of a random thing. I knew he was doing it. He'd been talking about doing it. I didn't think he was going to actually do it. And then he decided to do it. And I was like, sick. You know what? Like, of course I'm going to help you with it. And then we decided, all right, let's make videos on it. Might as well. It'd be fun to be able to look back on it. You guys seem to like them. And it was really cool that it's actually right over there. I guess you can see it. For it to go from a Ram Charger running and driving gas auto to a P-pump 12 valve 5-speed truck in a matter of like a month. It lives! It was really cool. And it was really fun to work on something different and get to share something different with you guys. It was really interesting to capture a build that wasn't my own, and I thought that was a lot of fun. It was pretty much right after we got this thing together, saved up some money, and I was ready to buy a tow rig. All right, we are on the way to go spend some money. I'm finally going to look at a truck, potentially buy it, assuming it's a good deal, or assuming it's in good shape. If it's in as good a shape as it seems, we're definitely gonna buy it. It's not the newest or the fanciest thing, but it's like the truck that I want. I bought my first gen Dodge W250. I've wanted a first gen for years and years now, and I finally got one, and I got like the perfect one for me. I do wish it was extended cab, I do, but I love the truck to death. It took a little while after that, and I found my trailer. I found a cheap trailer for like 800 bucks. I took it, I cleaned it up, you know, welded new lights on it, painted it, rewired it, and did all this stuff, and now I finally have like my truck and trailer rig. And like I still kind of step back and I'm like, yes, you know, when I'm parked at the gas station filling up with my truck and trailer, that really has been a life goal forever. And I was talking about how I was like, screw a truck and trailer, you don't need it, just going to OSW. That was a mentality I kind of came into this year and then back out of into the truck and trailer thing, because prior to that I'd always wanted a truck and trailer. And I think it's kind of funny that in 1 year I came to the realization that you don't need a truck and trailer, and then at the same time came back to the realization that I needed a truck and trailer, like all within a span of 1 year. But yeah, I've wanted a truck, a diesel truck, for a super long time now. I've always liked towing stuff. I don't know why. I just enjoy it. It feels manly. I don't know. I don't know why it is, but I do. And to finally have my own is such an awesome feeling, and that freedom of, oh, there's a drift event in Tennessee at like some super gnarly track with tons of elevation change, and you know, my friends are going, and okay, all right, let's go. We can go because we have the truck and trailer, and we can do it, and we can do things like that, and we're working our way towards that goal of traveling next year. And the first time we finally traveled with it, the first real trip was up to Road Atlanta. It's happening. I'm driving my own truck and trailer into Road Atlanta. Oh my god, my brakes are terrible. I really need trailer brakes. I wanted to drive Road Atlanta for 6 years now. I've been going to FD Atlanta for 6 years. I remember distinctly the first time I went to that track, me and Grafton, if you guys know Grafton, he's been in my videos. Me and Grafton drove an E30 up there for Elliot, Grafton ironically, who, no relation. He had bought an E30 here. He needed it driven up there. We wanted to go up there, so we drove it no plate all the way to Atlanta, which is about an 8-hour drive. Got pulled over twice along the way. Luckily, both times in Georgia, where you have 30 days to register a vehicle. We got there, had no idea how we were gonna get back. Walked up, you know, paid to get in, went to the track, and I remember watching the first time I saw a car come down that hill and initiate. I had been in a slump with my car stuff before then, and I had a car I'd been building for like a year and a half, 2 years. I got lost in the build, which is why I preach, don't get lost in the build. It was like an SR22 and big precision 62 and painted engine bay, stand on, all this stuff. I ran out of money to finish it, and I had been lost in that build for a year and a half or so at that point. And that was like such a big kick in the back that I need to get a car done. I need to get it done. I need to get it done. I need to get it done. And it definitely pushed me in the direction that I ended up going, which is a whole long story. In my car history, if you've seen that, you know kind of how all that spiraled out of control. But I told myself then that I wanted to do that. I wanted to drive that track. I wasn't sure how, but I wanted to make it there one day. Grow to Life, Road Atlanta. I get to drive that track with my Corvette last minute. Did not know I was going to be able to go. I actually didn't even have my trailer yet. Think about it, I had Marco's trailer. I had to borrow his trailer. BC had an extra pass. I was like, screw it, I'm doing it, I'm gonna go. The feeling of finally driving that track and being on grid, looking down the hill, ready to go into that turn, it was just such a surreal feeling, sitting there while all these drivers who I've watched drive this track for years and years blast past me. Go down the hill and initiate, then going and doing it myself. You know, hanging out in the pits, and so many of my friends came and just partying with everybody and hanging out. So they were launching water balloons from over there. They launched it up. It went way up and landed. Is there another one? And being there for that whole experience was so cool. And for that to be like the first time I took my tow rig somewhere, and it was just such a good start to, let's do this, let's travel, let's figure this out, let's find all these cool tracks around the country and all these cool people and meet people. And that was just a really cool accomplishment for me this year, and I'm really grateful that I got to do that. I finally got to drive Road Atlanta, and I got to tow my car up there with my truck, you know, and not borrowing somebody else's stuff or renting a U-Haul, like my truck, and my truck made it there and back, and it was really cool. That was a really cool one. We went to SEMA again. I mean, SEMA, it's always a good time. Favorite part, the side-by-sides. Just the whole trip in general, especially going with, you know, my work, the whole BC crew, it's a really good bonding experience. So I had a blast at SEMA. I'm glad we got to do that. Another big step towards the future was deciding to LS Swapped my Miata. I'm still super stoked on that. I'm ready to get that thing done. We've already made a lot of progress coming into the year, and I'm hoping that we're gonna get it done pretty early. And, you know, pretty much finishing the year off, finishing off the Miata. We tried to kill that thing. We tried, but it did not want to let go. It did not want to let go. Black Friday was a lot of fun. It was a 3-day event at OSW. If you didn't see any of those videos, I suggest you watch them. They were a lot of fun. And I think it was some of the best driving that I've ever done.
Yes, that's like, woo!
I can credit a lot of that to the sim. I'm so happy that I got that sim set up and started using it, because it definitely made me a much better driver. And that event was where I really got to experience that, because I've driven that skid pad way out a ton of times. I've driven OSW a ton of times, never got to tandem there. You know, the compound, I got to tandem there, but I was fairly new to the compound. I'd only driven it one other time. Auburndale, same thing. I'd only driven it like one other time. So to be at like my home track and finally be able to tandem and really push myself and my limits, and like that team tandem comp run, I tapped John's door kind of like on entry. first corner, and I'm able to stay there with him through the rest of the run, and that's all because of my sim practice. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I've been able to learn so much from that setup. And the Woodsman Cup. I mean, it's pretty much the last event of the year. That was a blast. Riding my Grom on dirt, racing people. Like, I won one of the races. Crashed a lot. I mean, the Woodsman Cup every year is a lot of fun. The videos never do super well, and I don't expect them to. But if you guys haven't seen it, that's also a really interesting one to watch because it's just its own very unique thing.
If you've got drunk cousin Eddie and he's a real jackass, don't invite him here, because this is a real delicate balance of like constantly never gonna happen again. I mean it. It's like a real, all it takes is one dude being a prick of like, oh, he broke my mirror, I'm gonna sue him, and this stops like an hour from now.
So that one's a lot of fun. That's a really, one of those events I really look forward to, and I'm glad I got to do it again this year, and I'm glad I got to do it on the Grom, because the year before I did it on my pit bike, and I'm too big for a pit bike off-road. It just bottomed out the whole time, and to be on my Grom and actually be somewhat competitive and really get to, I don't know, just throw it in and have a blast. Crash was really fun, and I think that, and then of course the New Year's Eve party shenanigans. I mean, I couldn't think of a better way to end the year. The biggest thing for me is that we ended this year rolling with like a lot of momentum, as cheesy as that sounds, into 2018, because we're midway through the Miata LS Swap project. Once that's done, we can start doing some rowdy stuff to the Vet. I have ideas, but we're gonna go away from the seat time machine mindset and do some crazy stuff with it, because ideally the Miata will be the seat time machine. So we've got finishing of a project, starting of a new cool project. I'd like to do more budget builds in 2018. That's something I'm really passionate about and I really enjoy. It's just right now I'm spatially limited. I mean, the amount of cars we have right now is almost too much. That's one of those things I'm looking forward to in 2018. I'm gonna try to figure out a way. I'd like to buy a house this year. Probably not gonna happen until next year, just with all these builds going on. Truck and trailer, I want to get that dialed. Like, my goal is to do, I want to do gauges. I'm going to do the same arbor gauges that I have in the Miata. Front lift, just because the front springs are sagged right now, like they're not even flat, they bowed up. Just new shocks and stuff like that, just to make it ride a little better. Built trans, paint just to kind of fix the rust issues and clean it up a little bit. I actually kind of like the way it looks now, but it needs to be painted just so that the rust doesn't get worse. I'm not going to let it turn into a pile. And maybe wheels and tires if the budget allows. The trail brakes sorted on the trailer, and then we are like good to go cross country. We've got the truck bed tent, we've got the trailer, we've got, I mean, pretty much everything we need. We'll probably do some more stuff to the trailer, like a tire rack and pit bike rack kind of thing. I'm gonna kind of show you guys some different ideas I have, and we'll probably do something a little different than everybody else does with their tire racks. So that should be interesting. But again, the main goal is to get the reliable drift car. I'm pointing at the motor. I know there's no Miata over there. But get the Miata done, make it reliable, make it dialed, and get the tow rig set up reliable and dialed, and like go drive. I mean, that's really the goal. And don't worry that when we start driving a lot, we're not going to have content, because again, we're going to pick up vet shenanigans, vet project stuff. We're going to get real wild with that. I don't even know the direction yet, but power adder of some sort. Will it be a straight line car? Will it be a drift car? Will it be a road course car? All of the three? I mean, there's a lot of different ways it could go. And yeah, sorry, that was kind of a jumbled, disorganized mess. I didn't rehearse or plan any of this. I was just like, I know what I did in 2017. Let me just tell the camera. And I was a little off of my date sometimes. But that is my 2017. It was a great year. Again, so many accomplishments and so much stuff to progress forward. We're taking steps, you know, getting the truck and trailer, starting the Miata project, having, you know, project seat time, the Corvette, you know, reliable drift car, knock on wood. Over here. All these things that are progress, you know, in my mind. And then all these experiences too, and it's cool that we got to do both. We got to travel and do all these experiences while still progressing, you know, towards our end goal. That, you know, those two kind of don't, it's hard to work those two together because they both cost money, they both take time. So to be able to do both of them, have all of your support along the way, you know, we started doing merch, and you guys have been supporting me through merch, and all of the people on Patreon have really made a drastic difference in this year. I'll tell you, without you, things would have been a lot more difficult. So I really appreciate all the Patreons. I plan on also this year really pushing harder on Patreon content. I know I've been slacking. I'd love to know what you guys want to see out of the channel in 2018. I'd love to know your thoughts on 2017. What was your favorite part? Why? What would you like to see more of? What do you wish I didn't do? What was your least favorite part? All your input is greatly appreciated. I do read all the comments, and I really enjoy all of the comments. Without the comments, it would feel like I was talking to a camera. But because of the comments, I know that I'm talking to you guys and people, and it really helps me make that connection. And it's cool because we kind of like have an ongoing conversation. So, sorry if this was long-winded. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for an awesome year. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for being awesome. I will see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Goodbye.